everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ambitious Broker. Today's guest is a gentleman by the name of Keith Myers, 40-year veteran of the real estate business, someone I've known a long time. Very, very bright guy, successful as a salesman, and then now as an owner of multiple offices, RE/MAX franchises in Southern California. And I think he's got a lot of interesting things to bring to you, some insight and some suggestions on how you might improve your real estate career. So sit back, enjoy, and hopefully you'll take away something of good value. So thanks again. Remember to subscribe to Ambitious Broker. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ambitious Broker. Today's guest, Keith Myers, and I've got to be up front with everyone. This guy I've known forever, almost forever.
Long time.
Got a chance to watch him when he first came in the real estate business. Wasn't smart enough to come work with me, but nonetheless, I got to watch him from afar, and has had a really, really good career, great career, and now owner of RE/MAX offices. And we're going to get a chance today to get some of your insights, what you've learned along the way, what things are changing. God knows what we might talk about.
Right.
Try to keep it in real estate.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to us, hopefully,
at least,
people out there. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's exactly what it'll be. So let's get a little background here.
Yeah.
Because you first started, and I know you had a big sports career. You went into college, actually some pro football for some time. And I know that you're a great athlete. I got a chance to watch you play Little League baseball, I think.
Yeah.
Probably goes back that far.
Yeah, I think so.
That's embarrassing.
Man, that's right. One of my first, I knew you before that.
They still had balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, then.
One of my first memories of you, I mean, I knew you through the things, but I knew you guys had that car club, North Valley Associates or something.
Wow,
and you had, what was it, like a 65?
I did, 65 Chevelle, and
yeah. I don't know, it was fast, but it was loud. And the thing was really impressive. You had a color bar down there that would play to the music. I just thought, this guy
I got there. What's funny is
so cool.
None of those cars would be considered fast today.
I know, but they sounded so good.
Yeah, you get a little Honda now. It's like got 450 horsepower.
And then I did almost come to work with you several times. We had talked a little bit, and I was a loyal guy, not looking to make a move. And it took a really unique situation that I finally did join Todd Olson in 1996, and it was a great decision for me. But we came so close one time that my mom moved over from Pinnacle, where she was working with me, and she wouldn't sound much, but she worked the last year of her real estate career with you. You probably don't even know that, but Lynn Gilmore.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Back in the 90s.
Wow,
yeah.
That's right. There's some old memories here. All right, we got to get ourselves out of this mess. All right, you got into real estate right away, and you became a farmer.
I did, because I got in, and again, you guys have blazed a trail. You're a couple years older than me, and you and a whole group of guys came out of high school, and you had a competitive background. You were athletes. You guys did stuff together, and so y'all kind of, give or take a couple years, or as a handful or more of you got into real estate. And I went to college. I got my degree, and I went to after trying to play in NFL and realized that it wasn't going to work. Unfortunately, I went to work at Lockheed, and I quickly decided the corporate world probably wasn't going to be for me. And I saw that some of you own homes, more than one home, Cadillac Eldorado, super cool stuff. And I thought, I had just gotten married. And I thought, if not now, when? Do I wait? I was making enough money. I'd evolved to another small aircraft company. I thought, well, what should I should do? And the guy that became my mentor, and really we became friends, my wife and he and his wife, and he's the one that kind of really encouraged me to get into real estate. And he's your former partner, Randy. And Randy was an ultimate farmer, as you knew. And so when I got in, I was smart enough to know that I think I'm as competitive as these guys. I'll work as hard as them or harder. I think I'm smarter than most of them. So
that's not a big stretch right there.
But I also knew that you guys were doing it and successful. So I'm going in blind faith. If Randy told me to go out and knock doors with my underwear on the outside, God darn it, I would do it. I just thought, I'm going to do everything he says for a year before, inevitably I put my fingerprints on it and learn different things. But yeah, I've sat down with Craig Duvros and MG Gonzalez over there on Balboa, where Park Regency is now, Country Club Properties. And they said, door knock, pick a farm. I picked a farm in Granada Hills because every place was taken. It was a farm map, right? And this was this person and that person. Right. And I go, this little area, north of Raleigh, west of Balboa, seemed like a prime area. I go, well, I'll take that. And they go, you don't want that?
Don't do that.
Why? So a guy named Jim Hickman. Do you remember Jim?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Merrill Lynch Realty and the like. And anyway, so I started door knocking. I was still working part-time, and I went after it. And they said, door knocking a couple hours a day. So, after work, I'd door knock 3-4 hours till it got dark, especially in the summer. And
so you were doing both things.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't know that about you.
And I got licensed in the middle of '84, and it took me a year to go full-time.
What were you doing at Lockheed?
Well, I moved from Lockheed. I started in the fabrication department. Then I moved into their marketing. And I had an opportunity that I met through a girl I met who the family, she had married into this family. It had aircraft parts company, a small company in Sun Valley. And they offered me a really good job. And so I was there for 5 years before I went up. But it was sales, mainly, finding and procuring parts for aircraft, many times military aircraft, for repair facilities across the country. And it's kind of fun for a while.
Yeah. Okay. So then you got inspired to get into real estate.
Got into real estate.
You were told to farm.
Mm-hmm.
How many times you wish that people would have just done what you did and just do what you were told?
It's so true. I mean, anybody watching this that you're struggling or you're new in the business and you're not successful, pick someone else who is, ask them what they're doing, and do that. Try that. Because, and stick with it. Because what happens is a lot of people will start something. I'll take you. I created something. This is a kind of a carry on from when I worked at Lockheed. They had a division called Skunk Works. And actually my stepdad was the program manager there on the SR-71 and the F-117. But Skunk Works was the best and the brightest and all the secret stuff. So we had the Skunk Works meeting at 7 a.m. When I first joined Todd, and I'd have these newer people in or struggle.
Well, you call it Skunk Works.
Yeah, we call it Skunk Works, yeah. And I said, don't say it. Probably a trademark violation here. But, I remember telling this woman had been in the business only about a year. She was older than me, but, we talked about farming and how it'll work and door knocking. Hey, you're out and amongst them. It's, we're in Southern California. I'm not telling you you're doing it in Chicago in the winter. And she said, I tried that. I go, tell me about it. She said, yeah, I went out and I door knocked and I didn't get anything. Well, how long did you do it? Meaning I thought she was going to say in months. She said, for like an hour. I go, well, how many times? Just once. I go, you door knocked a full hour.
Right.
And you decided it wasn't for you.
Right.
I said, she's not going to make it.
No.
And she did.
Yeah.
But, so, it back in those days, you either were a door knocking farmer or you were a cold caller. Right? It's either the phone or the...
FSBO's expired now.
Yeah, FSBO's expired.
Right.
And I felt like, I'd like to get out and be in person. And it was fun because it took a while and people would lie to you. Go, no, we're not thinking about selling. And gosh darn it, next week, Jim Hickman signed up until I got one. And then I had two. And when I had two signs in the farm at one time, people would say, man, I see your signs everywhere. Well, maybe you got some open house signs out there. But it's amazing how quickly you can gain momentum. And it took me about 2 years and I just shut them down. And my first full-time year was 86 and I did $4.5 million. And that was pretty good back then.
Yeah.
Of course, the market was coming out at real high interest rates.
30 homes probably at that time, yeah.
And then in 87, I did $7.5 million. Don't ask me what I did all the other years, but I remember those. And then 88, I did $14.5 million, almost $15 million. I sold 52 homes. I remember because it was one per week,
right,
on average, right?
That was my second goal in real estate.
Yeah.
House a week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, I'll be retired by 95. And then, I actually kind of regressed a little bit in 89. And then the 90s came, we had our little recession here. The military, shrank, Clinton shrank the military, and we had a little bit of a slowdown there.
A lot of aerospace problems in those days. Yeah.
And then we had to adjust. And I met this lady that really helped me quite a bit by the name of Fannie Mae. I did some REO for a few years and got real busy with that, and Bank of America and a couple of others. And, we did a lot of business, but it wasn't as fun.
You mentioned that this lady tried, she started and went for well. And I don't know if you know this or not, but Stephen Noel was the first one ever worked with me.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, and same thing. He came over, and at that time, I had been a farmer. I'd gotten Randy started farming, and we built our whole original business around the idea of farming. And Stephen came in, and 14 months before he got his first listing. And he was the most disciplined human being I've ever known in real estate. And yet he came in. And so I always say to people, it's that environment that you put yourself in becomes so important in real estate. He's gone on and made $1.5 million a year for 30 straight years or something like that. And he literally had to find that first bit of success. And the question is, how do you do that? And particularly with people who farm, because there's so few farmers. Our environment, and then your environment that you started knows there were a lot of heavy farmers.
Right.
We created a culture of farming.
You did.
And so, I don't mean me personally. I just mean
your group,
our guys, did. And so when you came in, like when Stephen came in, he would see all of us putting listings up on the board, and it would just depress him.
Sure.
And half my job with that guy was just to say, you'll be all right. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. And then, man, the minute it broke, it broke. And it was like all that pent up, time spent and communication, talking to people over and over. And he pops one sign, and then it just, the story after that.
Hats off to two things. Hats off to him that he had to stick to it on this, and hats off to you to keep encouraging him. You saw something in him. You knew just a matter of time. You probably didn't think it's 14 months.
Well, I'll tell you what I knew. He was doing it.
Yeah.
That's all it didn't take a genius. We certainly had enough people in our organizations, yours and mine, where you would not have bet on them.
Right.
Until you see, they just keep doing it. And as long as they keep doing it, I just never seen one fail. Literally, I don't think I've ever seen anyone in the thousands of agents who, if they just kept doing it, made it.
Right.
And half of them can't speak English. Literally, some of my agents who had, accents and, women, men, every nationality you can think of. The common denominator was, don't stop.
Right. Yeah, it's true. What an outstanding field of business that we have chosen, not without its challenges like anything else, but the barriers to entry to get in. And it's the great American dream, really. You think about it. Where else can you go out with a college or high school education, take a few courses, pass a test, and have the chance to make it $1 million a year? Now, that first year is a crapshoot. When I talk to newer people in the business, and most of our business is not built upon hiring brand new agents, although I'd like to get some younger, we're doing some things to try to help on that. But that first year it's a big unknown. You might make $100,000. You might make nothing.
Right.
A lot of it is, most of it is your effort, but there's some external factors, the market, they're just, sometimes things just don't come together.
Yep.
But man, you just got to stay with it. You have to go into almost like burn the boats.
You got to burn the boats.
I've chosen this. I'm going to make this win.
I used to always say, if you got a plan B, take it.
Yeah.
Just because there's too many obstacles along the way. If you haven't burnt the boat, you're probably going to take plan B. So just save yourself a lot of aggravation. Do it now, and
yeah, it is true. So yeah,
So where'd you go after that? So you got in, you started farming, you started doing a lot of business. And I want to get into talking about what agents can do today. But I want them to know that you know what you're talking about. Yeah. So you then got into becoming an owner or part owner of a RE/MAX office. And then now you're into multiple offices and so forth. And lots of agents, lots of experiences, and you've been through lots of markets.
Right.
I tell people just jokingly sometime, that I haven't stopped signing payroll checks since 1978. So, and I'm proud of it actually, to get to go through all these various ups and downs and be able to adjust and anticipate and,
Right.
But it seems like just not stopping has always been a common denominator, right?
Well, I think when I became an owner, I had the good fortune of knowing Todd Olson over the years. Good reputation, good guy, but I didn't know him real well. And he came to me. We get agents, you get recruited all the time, right? But so he'd call me and he goes, "No, this is something different." So he offered me a little minor piece of the company to come over there to help him grow.
Right.
And I said, I've been thinking about that. I kind of need that next level kind of challenge, if you will. It was kind of before the big teams started growing. Individual agents were growing into teams, which might have been a path for me. But I thought, well, this wow, sounds really good. So he had about 60 agents. 30 were productive. 30 were just good people. He just had this loyal group that had been with him a long time. And we did. We started growing. We took a couple top agents from one company, a couple top agents from another, and we just started growing. So we went from 60 in 96 to just over 100 when we bumped up against year 2000. And one of our good younger agents decided to move out to Westlake Village for lifestyle to raise his young kids in a different environment, bought a house out in Oak Park. Kind of backwards. He actually had his first chance of selling $1 million house to an athlete out there.
Right.
And he didn't even know where Westlake was. He just sounded like a day trip away. But doing that was Jordan Cohen, who's now the #1 RE/MAX agent in the world for 6 years in a row, and he's done pretty well. But
well, that's the other thing about your background is that you've had a number of your people have been like world class. Chris, of course,
Chris Williams,
and Jordan. So you've seen the lifestyle of people who succeed.
Yeah. I worked with a lot of people, people like Stephanie Bataka. We were together when she started at Pinnacle, and I saw her get started, and, she's had a wonderful career, as you know, and a lot of others. I won't drop all the names, but there's some, and I try to have good relationships with all those folks. And, sometimes there's just a different seat for your tush, right? So,
yeah.
But yeah.
And timing.
Yeah, timing. Yeah.
What opportunity pops up at the right time and so forth.
So interesting how we became RE/MAX, because we were an independent. The North Valley, as you know, was independent driven. I mean, you with R.R. Gable kind of were the first that really exploded. I mean, going back, there was Halleck and others, Ford Properties, I think, well before my time. But then, a few of the franchises came in, but you guys really dominated. And there was Country Club Properties, and then Pinnacle started, and then Paramount that has become Rodeo. And really the big corporate shops didn't really have market share here. But when we opened out in Westlake, nobody knew Todd C. Olson Estate Brokerage. They were, Cole Banker just bought first John Douglas, and then Fred Sands just had bought Fred Sands, and they had giant market share out there. They combined a few offices. And then they had a real strong Century 21 before he decided to stick with his Opolo winery.
Right, the winery, all right.
Yeah.
Right.
And Prudential was big before it became Berkshire Hathaway. So we started thinking, .com era, 2000, access to technology. We kept you do stuff, you test it, and wins or loses, right? You don't have this huge budget to throw a bunch of things into marketing or to any aspect. So cutting to the chase, we ended up having a friend that was a franchise sales guy for the region for RE/MAX. Wasn't interested in RE/MAX. Just happened there was one in Granada Hills that wasn't to my liking. So, but we went down to Palos Verdes, Todd and I, and we were pretty impressed. So we came back, took it to a small group, bigger group. Long and short of it, we became RE/MAX. So we opened out there, and we were the flavor of the month. We grew like crazy, man. We grew from nothing to about 100 agents out there,
right,
in just a few years.
And why? What was the attraction besides flavor of the month?
Yeah, a couple things were working. at one time we were probably the lowest cost denominator. We were the more aggressive on compensation.
Yeah.
We were on the upswing. Remax was fresh, even though it started in '73 in California, especially in our world. It was a little bit of a newer brand, and Remax on the Boulevard was blazing a trail down on the south end of the valley, and they were growing like crazy. And we just got some momentum, and you see it. You've seen it more times than me, where a company kind of blows up, and then you see companies that they reach maturity and then they slowly go down. It's hard to stay the same. You're either growing or dying, right?
You can't say the same. In fact, that's the one thing that you see with, it's been particularly true with franchises because of the general business model of a franchise, where, to your point, they come in, but at a certain point in time, you reach sort of a saturation point. No one has ever had 100% of all markets, or any market for that matter. I know Remax came pretty close in Valencia. They were up there. I mean, I had an office out there, and it was like every other sign they had was one of theirs, and even they blew up.
Yeah.
Gold
Coast in the Ventura, especially in beach cities, they still have good presence there. But there's other big flameouts, and I could tell you.
I remember when that happened, by the way, when you guys did the Remax thing. And I remember talking to people, probably Richard particularly. I remember the conversation with him, and I thought it was absolutely the right thing to do at that moment in time. I mean, not that you guys cared what I thought, but had you asked, I would have said brilliant, because at that time, it was the right time, I thought, to be able, for you guys specifically. I don't know that Remax, I think you guys would have done it with almost anybody, any franchise, but where you guys had grown to, your limiting factor was going to be, and in that era was important too.
Especially when we stretched out geographically, and it used to be 30 miles away was like the whole other world. Right. And it really was different MLS, different county, a lot of different stuff going on there. So it was the right decision, but then we ran into the juggernaut of what's been known now as the Great Recession. And the way the Remax model worked was everybody had a monthly fee, but then you had a more aggressive compensation. So you were doing well as an agent. Your monthly fee is nothing.
Yeah.
But you're struggling. You're going, whew.
It's a fixed overhead.
$300 a month, or you're going to rent me an office too. Phew, man, I could pay groceries. So we lost some people.
Yeah, that was
we lost some good people. Yeah, exactly. So, we circled the wagons and tried to do what we could, and we just hunkered down. We cut costs, closed some offices, and we went from about 370 agents to at the top all the way down to about 122 in about 6 years, 5-6 years. And Todd was good about watching costs, and I was good about holding hands. And we got through it, and then we started growing out of it again. So on balance, though, I'm a big believer that Remax has been helpful. And for an agent that takes advantage of it, there's so many things that you do for the investment to have that part. I like to think I'm an agent competing with an agent that doesn't have that. I can do everything you can do, but you can't quite do what I have. I have a few more extra things, and done right, you should win. Listen, you take a great agent with presentation skills and practice and hone, they could work at ABC.
Yeah.
But on balance, they're, especially now, Remax has a whole new set. We don't have to get into Remax, but they have a whole new set of leadership, and younger and a little tech forward. I'm kind of excited about the direction.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to talking brands at all. But again, I remember watching you guys go through that. I thought it was really the right move at the time. But, you had mentioned now that the MLSs are all kind of together and so forth. I think it's been really bad for real estate, to be honest with you. Part of the problem, like as example, in going back to we're getting people to farm, it was a huge thing. I firmly believe, I think Stephen might even admit it, that Stephen's a very rich guy today because he came in, saw an environment where people were all farming. It's the power of people united in some collective mindset. Very powerful, just very powerful. He would not have continued had it not been for that environment, I'm certain, and I know I can share to you in private why I'm certain of it. But and that's changed a lot now. You don't have, I believe that the MLSs have pulled people away from their center. And in doing Ambitious Broker, the one thing I've learned with a lot of really productive people even in the last year, is everyone keeps talking about hyperlocal, hyperlocal, hyperlocal. Everybody.
Right.
Everybody.
But hyperlocal is how it was when we were in the 80s. Randy, my mentor, corrected me up one day. He told me, I don't work any business south of Roscoe.
Right.
I mean, you just don't do that.
Yeah.
We literally would dominate that area. And I'll give you an example of that. Door knocking my farm. I'm about 3 years in, hit my stride. And I hit a lady, street called Armstead. And she, hey, you guys think about making any moves anytime soon? Yeah, we're moving. We're moving to Oregon, and we're going to put down the market pretty cool. Great. I'd like to get together and craft a plan.
Right.
Well, my sister-in-law is an agent. Oh, really? She is. Who's she work for? Century 21. Nothing against Century 21. I go, where's their office? No, it's on Ventura Boulevard. I go, oh.
Way over there.
That's clear on the other side of the valley. She does have the local knowledge and the connection of the agents and things that I know to get you top dollar.
Right.
Tell you what, let me talk to you in your house. Let me just have 2 weekends. Let me see what I can do. They let me have 2 weekends. And I end up meeting Chan Ho Park and his wife. I remember because Chan Ho Park ended up being the same name as a pitcher the Dodgers had many hours later. And I double-sided that deal. And I don't know, the sister-in-law, I don't know how she felt about it, but that would never happen today. Right now, my wife, who's taken over our business, I still love real estate, and I don't play golf very often. I don't hunt or fish. I have very few hobbies, so I still love real estate, and it keeps me. I think it's a value to my agents that I walk their walk a little bit, but I also have the great advantage of having a wife who loves and does most of the work. Well,
I can say sorry to step on you, but this came up with Joe Alexander and talking to him. It's like when I was the top income producer in Southern California for Forrest Olson Company, Coldwell Banker, I was a genius. And when I stopped selling because of the demands of the business, all of a sudden, some people thought I didn't know the first thing about selling anymore. It's like, so I agree with you. I mean, you staying engaged has been huge.
The first, probably 10 years that I was Todd's partner, I was agent first. I'd lead by example. And as we grew, I kind of took on more of the other side. And he was a great manager, and I was more the outside guy trying to go get people. But it is true. But over the last year and a half, Chris has sold one in Ventura, 2 sides of that one on the beach. We're in escrow on one on Oxnard right now. Just closed one in Moore Park. She's got one in West Covina in escrow right now. That's with her longtime friend who she grew up in that home. Her mom passed, so she's doing that.
Right.
She sold one up in Walnut Creek that's been a few more years, which I said, no, let's refer it out. No, can Chrissy do it for me? I guess we'd go join Emma's and go spend the weekend. It was, a good market, and that market's always been good up there. But you're right. I mean, back in the day, man, you owned and dominated that area. And it's interesting that now, through access to technology and using different, MLSs and looking at the size of checks, with the prices have grown so dramatically, and the number of transactions are so low that, what they call an agent that does 5 transactions a year now. Top producer.
Superstar, yeah, right.
I mean, it's really amazing where we've been in a 30-month trough of transactions.
When I was active with the association, I was trying to emphasize how important it is that as real estate people, we still look and grow in our perception of being professional. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened. And one of the reasons is, I think, a contributing factor, there's a lot of them, but one of them, in my opinion, has been that we've allowed people to, and by the way, if I was selling houses today myself, I might be doing a deal in Long Beach. I might be doing one everywhere. And there are certain people that are very good and qualified to do that. And it's okay to do it. Most no.
Most no.
And and it's bad for the business, I think.
They don't know what to disclose. They don't know whether the skeletons are buried.
Exactly. And so just from an industry standpoint, I was trying to encourage, a different kind of attitude about it. And not that you can't do it, but do it with some responsibility. That's all. And so in any event, you're right. It's changed. It's morphed the whole business. I think it's also contributed a little bit with the technology to, smaller offices and things like that. What are you guys going to do? You're going to keep your big locations? You're trying to cut square footage down, or
Yeah, we've shrunk. I had a Tarzan office that we bought, a long-term office there. It was a good producing office at one time. And Stuart Schoenwetter, longtime owner, we bought it from him.
Yeah.
When that lease was up, I folded him into Woodland Hills. We had one in Thousand Oaks I had for many years. That lease was up. They didn't want to renew with us because they're going to tear the building down. There's a lot of redevelopment along Thousand Oaks Boulevard there. And I thought, TO agents, sorry. But we moved them into Westlake, and then Moore Park, same thing. That lease was up, and that's a world tweener city. I've come to know there's a lot of times like Tarzan has never had a lot of great real estate offices. Back in the day, or maybe Ziggy was there or somebody, but it's Encino, it's Woodland Hills, it's Calabasas, it's Sherman Oaks. So same thing. Moore Park, 35,000 people served by CME and Westlake and TO. You don't need an office there. And the office where we were had been real estate office for about 3 different times over 25 years. But anyway, we closed that. We moved mostly in the CME into TO. So we did a lot of that. We shrunk one in Tustin. I just had to be strategic and cut costs because, especially in Southern California, you're told your company dollar, a third goes to occupancy, a third goes to payroll, and then you got some the other costs, and then leaves you a little bit of percent at the end for profit. Yeah. But in Southern California, 40 to 50% occupancy, and then payroll, then another 30. Then you're like, negative 10% sounds pretty good. But yeah. But we've made a lot of changes, and we're doing a lot better now than we had a tough little road there as we were adjusting. Yeah. And I think that eternal hope, difference between faith and hope, hope is a good thing to have, but not a good business practice strategy to have on. Faith is that belief, the present belief in yourself that I can get that done. And hope is more forward looking. I hope it's better. But I think we had faith in ourselves, but we were hoping the market was going to come back. I think we all thought interest rates were going to come down faster than they have. But again, maybe that was hope. And
well, I think, you're a bright guy, and I know you keep up on what's going on generally with the world, and then it gives you a chance to anticipate and guess better, maybe, and allows you to, to stick around and function better, but the bottom line is what you said in the beginning. That is that if you'll go out and knock on a door, and your competitors don't, somebody's going to win.
Right.
Somebody's going to be here. I don't care how bad it gets. And we were around, in fact, we had just started in 1978. By 1980, when interest rates hit 18%, it was spooky stuff. And so how do you survive that? You just work harder, and then everybody else doesn't. And the next thing you know, you have a larger piece of a smaller pie, and you're back to normal again,
I tell my folks all the time, I say, real estate sales never go to zero. There's always going to be someone that needs to sell. In every market, after the earthquake, houses were, there was a week lull, and all of a sudden houses, hey, it wasn't damaged, badge of honor, I got to go somewhere. So no matter what happens, real estate is being sold every day. Yeah. It's our job to go take that market share and provide value and meet that consumer and prove to them, you got to believe it first, and you got to deliver on it, but prove to them that we're the right solution to solve them if they want to get to, Shaker Heights, Ohio, or wherever they're going.
Big boom at Shaker Heights. Now I understand. Tell me now, let's jump into what you're telling the agents right now. I mean, and there's maybe three categories of agents, we'll call it. One is someone who's just starting. One who's someone who's been around for a while. Maybe they need a little kickstart. And then the others are the ones that are just booming and just don't want to hear from you, probably,
Yeah, and we have all those. We have less of the newer, but I would say what we've replaced that with are ones that have been longer in the tooth and slower to adapt and just kind of languishing there, where they kind of want to do better, but they're not. And so, the challenge is, I read something Brian Buffini said a couple weeks ago now, right around July 4th, has said that biggest problem in real estate right now is apathy. I couldn't agree more. I mentioned this to you, that I sense not only in our offices, but outside, the people that I talk to. And I'm part of something called Gold Nation. Founding member of me and a guy named James O'Brien up at Sacramento Remax Gold. We put together this Gold Nation, which now has grown to 7 states. So it's kind of a brotherhood of that brings us some scale. We can do more referrals, and we do some training stuff, and we go get resources together. But my point is, I talk to these guys. I was just talking to Keith Ard, who runs Northern California and Northern Nevada. Exact same stuff. Right. Talk to someone, Chad Oxner in Colorado. Exact same stuff. So it's everywhere. Yeah. And I don't know what the real answer to that is, except for us in our seats as leaders, as we need to bring the noise, and we need to keep trying, keep looking for new and better ways for efficiency and effectiveness, keep engaging with, keep them encouraged, keep them working, because they can't have a plan B, like you said.
Right. I'll tell you what I believe today, for what it's worth, is that, we talked earlier that, one of the things I tell the owners all the time is you can't solve a problem someone doesn't have. And what it means basically is, I think coaching in general has left the real estate brokerage business. And I demonstrate that by saying, I don't know a real estate company on the planet that makes $1,000 a month per agent profit. Coaches do. And if you go back to when we had started and you started, I mean, you probably felt more coaching than you wanted in the office you were at. I know I got, people got sick of listening to me, I can tell you that. But the value of being around us was that we were gonna coach you, and we were gonna be after you. You were gonna be accountable. So to finish the thought, because I'm loving to hear what you say, is I think the first job of a leader today has got to be, let's find a problem.
Yeah.
And then if you have a problem as an agent, which I think is a goal, and the apathy comes from the lack of goals. Let's get a goal. Because then, you come from football, and I coached it forever and played a little bit. And I know that we spent so much time looking at video, and we would spend such a disproportionate amount of time looking at what we did wrong and trying to figure out how to do it better. And I found with real estate people, the same thing is true. Look at what's not going well, but you got to keep your self-esteem up while this is happening, So to me, it was like, set a goal. Now I have a problem. Now we have something we can go look out to. And the other thing is, I firmly believe, if there's any way today, if I was doing it today, I would have to be working on how do we get people a sense of rowing together in the same direction, in the same office. I mean, I can say this, you would have a harder time saying this because you have the skin in the game, but I can tell you right now, I firmly believe that every single salesperson in the business today would be better off if they would get into the mindset that let's win as a company, let's win as an office, let's win as an organization, and less about me. Firmly believe that.
You said a lot all there. You're taking words out of my mouth, so I think we're kindred spirits a little bit on that. But solving a problem they don't have or they don't know they have. Before their goal, I almost think, you need to have that strong why. Why do I have that goal? I want to have a Ferrari, or I want to build water wells in Africa. Both are goals and whys, and are goals. Why do you want to do that? And I'm a big believer. I don't care if you're your goals are noble or not. It doesn't matter as long as it motivates you towards an end. As long as you're doing it morally, legally, and ethically, then you're not taking advantage of people. But I think one of the reasons that, and then you talk about coaches. If you take Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, Brian Buffini, a number of the others, name me one broker owner that has the wealth that those guys have built.
Exactly.
So to what you're saying, that they're the ones that have figured it out. They were the smart ones. But, however, I think a big problem is...
The interesting thing about them, and here again, I think they have value. So in fact, I had lunch with Mike Ferry 6 or 7 months ago, and I believe he's one of the most influential people ever in real estate, probably. But they don't have any downside with what they say, and there's no losing for them. If people don't listen to what they say when they go to their seminars, they still cash a check and they get to move on. And guys that own real estate companies, they believe more. They got more, involved. They got more at stake by bringing you into their organization. Listen to them for free.
Yeah.
Usually,
Yeah. And sometimes it's, they don't value it. They don't have skin in the game paying for either. You're paying a coach $1,000 a month. You're going to show up.
Yep.
And you're going to do what you've got to do.
Yep. And see, that's the psychology of the business, really. It's like, it's so, by the time you get in management and ownership, it's not so much how do you sell real estate? That's pretty straightforward. And there's 1,000 people that are doing very well that you can model. It's trying to figure out how to, push some buttons and do some, how do you get this team winning?
Yeah. I think the big challenge is for me, I'll speak for me, is trying to drive enough perceived value to the agent that they will engage and row on the same team and come in at least periodically into the office, or they could be surrounded by other like-minded or not perfectly like-minded individuals, do some collaboration, do some stuff together.
Yeah.
I think there's still a huge value. I mean, there's been an explosion of virtual companies that part of me is jealous because they just eliminated their biggest costs. They have no occupancy costs. But think about the risk management and the issues that are there. I mean, you got a lot of lost souls out there.
Yeah.
They could be making your company look horrible. We've seen some of the things that some of these agents have done. But if you can get them to get into the office, and we're doing a 4-part series in 4 of our office and collaborating some people through on all around AI, right? And we know that's a big thing. It's going to affect all our lives in every way, good, bad, and indifferent. So we're getting ahead of that, and it's a 4-part period. We've been pushing really hard to try to get everybody into one of the 4 offices. And we've got a big commitment. We have a lot of people coming, but they're not all coming.
Right.
Not even close to all 300 agents.
Right.
And I can see where, Jordan Cohen or somebody maybe, I think he would benefit. I think they would all benefit.
Sure.
But we need to do a better job of providing really true value, just like the agent needs to do a better job of convincing the consumer that their problem, pushing the problem to the consumer of having this house they don't want anymore for any number of reasons, or wanting a house that they don't have yet, can be solved better by me.
Right.
And a set of tools and resources and values that I can bring into the equation.
Right.
Except the way we did it back in true hyper-local day when we were farming areas, and we're farming 500 to 1,000 homes. These guys say, "Yeah, I got to farm a 5,000." Well, you mail 5,000, which we can talk about.
Different,
mail.
yeah.
I think mail's dead, but I think that I would door knock, and people would see me, especially ones that see you. They'd see me coming up, and they'd say, "Hi, Keith," and they knew me. I was a mayor of that area,
right?
And we did.
I used to tell people farming, that's the day you made us, when you go to the door and they say hi to you before you say hi to them.
Yeah.
Hi, Keith. Hi, Roger. Before you have to say, "Hey, Mr. Smith."
Right. And if you believe that this is truly a relationship business, and it still is, and for the foreseeable future, I can't see how it's not a relationship built business. You've got, Brian Buffini and a couple others who purely are by referral only. Don't call, do this. Just build these strong referral sources and let them refer you and use you. And I used to always think it was a kind of a lesson in mediocrity, because I think, are you really going to get 50 people from the people you know? Well, it's been proven a lot of them are. You got to be working it like everything else. Some of these paths will be successful if you put the energy into it.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I long for the day that we get a little more, and we've had it. There's been times we've really had it, and then during COVID, we didn't have it in person as much.
Yeah.
But that was the explosion of Zoom, and I know it was a new technology, but we had much bigger percentage joining us then than we do now, because they know it's easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy that it's easy to say, well,
that's the most important lesson probably to learn out there today, and that is that if it's easy, you just invite competition. What you want to be doing is you want to be doing back what we talked about. I know I'm going to get up and do something you can't do, or you won't do. And today, it's that apathy that you're talking about is really what's led to a lot of these legal problems that we're having in the industry. The perception of a real estate agent's value is plummeting, and there's a lot of reasons for it. You better get your eyes focused on why is it happening, and then build a plan to defeat it. It's happening big time right now. And you'd mentioned value. How do I have more value to someone? That's a challenge, because everybody with a lot of money is trying to make it look like you mean nothing. It's all about data, and so forth. So, all right, a brand new agent today. He starts in this business today, and the first thing that you're gonna say to him is, "I need you to show up Monday and start doing this."
First of all, hey, Roger, I'm glad you're interested in real estate. I think it's a great opportunity. You're a younger person, and it's such a golden opportunity.
Thank you for recognizing me for that.
Well, how did you come up with this decision? Why'd you pick real estate? And we discover that, and then we start trying to build a mindset, set some goals, look at where maybe they're from a family that has a business, or dad's a contractor, or somewhere we can tap into other spheres of influence to try to grow that way. Or maybe they're ultra competitive like I was and you were, and we're athletically gifted, and we're, got tons of energy, and, farming still works. I know you interviewed recently another guy nearby here, Joe, in the industry, and that company, that's they preach every day to everybody, and it works. But, we just kind of look at ways to do it, come up with what we think is going to be the best way. I think ultimately it's good to have like 4 pillars. I'm a farmer, but I also use my sphere, and occasionally I'm doing expires, and I buy some seller leads somehow, or, you work some different things into cover and some of that.
One of the guys I just interviewed said I also have to work in the business now. Right now. How do I get a deal now?
Yeah. Used to be, you get buyers now, go do an open house, learn to meet buyers, and you can get someone in escrow. You could sell something this weekend. It's not likely, but it could happen.
Yeah.
Whereas you go out and you're knocking doors to find someone to list their home and get it on the market and get it sold, it's going to take a little bit longer. I've always said that prospect for sellers, buyers are a byproduct. But the reality is you need to kind of really be working with both, So once we kind of do that.
You're right, though, it is a byproduct. I mean, the buyer's a byproduct, of the other energy. Yeah.
But I really think that the key to success is treating it like a business. So if you have a business, you have hours. You're opening your shop, your restaurant, or what have you. Just like open when you want and sleep in. Or,
right.
Golf. And it doesn't mean you can't golf, but you just got to figure it out.
No, there's rules. There's rules around my liquor store that says the sign says I'm open at 8.
Yeah.
And I close at 8.
You got to,
or whatever it is. You got to be there, and so you're accountable to your customers. We have to be accountable differently in our business. You have to be good, but at the same time,
yeah. And the best liquor store owner is when they come in with about being, obtuse. Hey, how can I help you? What are you looking for? Here's what I tried. You might want to try this, and engage them. And then next you built a fan, and they're going to shop you instead of Total Wine, whatever. Same thing in what they choose. If we can get them, it's not like a crazy amount. if 4 days, 2 hours a day per week, talking 8 hours.
Yep.
Out of 168 hours that we all have in a
We
week.
taught 6.
Yeah.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 hours, 2 hours, 6 hours.
That'd be 5.5 more than everybody else.
Did you know Tom Mann?
Yeah.
Tom Mann had the greatest line ever. He said, he came in and he entered the world with a bunch of farmers, but in his mind, he had to figure it all out, and he says, I finally figured out that I watch the postman who goes out every day. He says, if I just do what he does, I'd make 10 times as much money as he did. And he did. He did exactly what, just show up at the doors, get to meet the people, and that's just a great line.
It's interesting. A portion of my farm in Granada Hills, which was like the last piece I took, which was south of the freeway, I'm knocking it down, killing it, selling a ton of houses. All of a sudden, the mailman gets licensed and starts working it. And oh, by the way, he has a side business of video rentals, which was big at the time. So he's getting them to come rent videos. He's a personal guy, and it was the area when he would the mailboxes were on the house up front. It wasn't like driving in his truck, throwing it in the thing. I thought, I got a little scared. And he nicked me, man. He stuck around he's still in the business, but he's slowed it down. But that's a tough combo right there. Yeah.
So you believe in a little farming, some sort. Most people are really emphasizing Sphere now.
Yeah.
And so what kind of technology are you kind of asking people to get engaged with now?
I think the days are where you can keep it in your head or write it down on a scratch pad or something are just long gone. You can do it that way, but you're just burning money, because the time from lead to when they make the decision, if you talk to Mike Ferry, a lead is someone who's going to do something in 30 days. Well, that's great if you've just got this fire hose of stuff. But we all know now that a lot of them, it's an incubation period of time, and you need time to curate them and work on them. And the best way to do that is CRM. And some people embrace them and work them very well. And statistically, they're more successful than the ones that don't. We had a good fortune of that a couple of years ago that Remax made a deal with Inside Real Estate, who owns KV Core. They've changed it to Bold Trails. Now they bought Boomtown and a bunch of other stuff. And they're out, we get a suite of things that's off the shelf. It's like $1,000 a day. Is Core Home, Core Present, all these amazing tools. We don't have 100% adoption, right? But the ones that are working it and doing it and utilizing it to follow up and have campaigns and prompt them on who to contact are having significantly better success.
What rang my bell about computers was the idea that, and I don't remember exactly, but I remember it haunted me. And that was that the reason that computers have entered the world back in the days that we started doing it was that you can do more widgets in the same amount of time.
Right.
So it was like, what was our widget? And the thing that people, I think, so often are losing track of today, and that is that, your widget are people.
Yeah.
And there's just, it's not buyers and sellers, it's people. And there's never been a more important time, in my opinion, for CRMs, and I invented it. Which it's just like, and back in the 80s, but today, because of the way the market has shrunk, you have more people in the business. You have more part-time people in the business that keep getting between you and your good relationships, and they're stealing money from you big time. It's like that, in my mind, is the business, So I know there's a lot of options. Sean, you probably know Sean Halami, but he said to me one time, he goes, does it ever surprise you that there's more people, a higher percentage of our people use computers in the 80s than they do today when everyone accepts computers? And I go, well, yeah, but I think the reason is because there was no option in those days. We had the only one. You either bought into it or you didn't. Today, you can buy into it and have 1,000 options. And that those options seem to paralyze people.
The CRM too replaced a hot thing that happened that's kind of run its course to a great extent, which was assistance. I was at a Mike's Ferry Superstar retreat down at Palm Desert, probably 1988. And there's a guy named Walter Sanford, who was top producer from Long Beach, selling like $50 million a year back when that was like crazy, maybe 60 million. And he was on his panel all the time. Ultimately, he spun off and did his own thing and moved away from Mike. But as a matter of fact, got a friend of mine, Jack Anthony, who I just saw a few minutes ago. He and I pressed to see him at one of these things. And we went down and saw him down on Long Beach, and he showed us this operation. He's making offers every day on an apartment, lowball offers every day on apartment buildings for himself. And every once in a while, he'd get one. But he said something that he said, you know what, I need to make $40,000 a month just to break even. I have expensive divorce. I'm paying alimony and child support. I've got this Rolls Royce and all that. I paid $40,000. But he had, I think, 4 assistants or 5 and some other help. But he had all these assistants. So I go, I'm going to hire an assistant. And virtually from there through my entire career, I had an assistant. But that assistant, to a great extent, was the CRM. Did the follow-up, kind of kept me on track, reminded me of things.
Right.
And I first tried to use an assistant to do cold calling and prospecting, and I realized that's my job. It's all the rest of the stuff you have an assistant do. So in the 90s, you remember you have offices full of assistants. So we had to create space for assistants. We're not productive per se, but necessary, and everybody wanted to have that. Well, if I look around my offices now, the good thing is a lot of those are gone, unless you're a team or something. But
people were getting assistants in those days, and even today, before they knew what they wanted to do with an assistant. So now you're back to that. I had this overhead.
Yeah.
And if I bring an assistant in and they start doing work for me, if I don't take the time they save me to do more productive work, then it's just cost me. It wasn't an investment, and I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of agents who actually started getting themselves in some financial trouble because they didn't kick up, at the time. You experienced that too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I saw an assistant there. I actually see her quite a bit in one of my offices. I go a lot. I don't sit too much. But most of the time she's there, but the agent is not. And she's always online buying stuff or on Instagram or something. And I'm not blaming her because she's taking direction from the agent, and agents not keep her busy enough. Right. So she's just filling her time. Right. And I'm like, God, it's just like, kills me. But
well, see, the thing today too is that even brands as big as Remax that you're involved with, or Center 21 or KW, they're not. None of the companies anymore take a to the public. It's not a business to consumer business anymore. So in our days, we really did a lot to get to the consumer from the company standpoint.
Right. And for sure, newspaper ads and everything else.
That's all kind of gone different directions. And I think that's why, I'm a big believer, even more so today, is that you have to build an audience, because you can't afford, who could afford, companies can't afford to go out and, talk to 1 million residents of the San Fernando Valley. You can't do it. So you got to decide, who's my audience going to be? And then what's my technology to communicate with this group of people? I come up with a genius idea tomorrow. Who am I going to tell? Am I going to get on the radio and start spending, $30,000 a month? Probably not, So, that CRM system provides you an audience. And that's the way I encourage people to think of it today. Think about, a podcast or something like that we're doing. Who's your audience? And So I don't have a preferred one myself, but so you're talking about AI. Let's jump to that for a minute. What do you see in that? And how's that going to affect
right now, everybody's using it to write their description in MLS, which is great, because now you see, it used to
spelled right now?
Yeah. How many times you see nice house on a nice street, and 3+2, I already know it's 3+2. You don't have to put that there. And it's nice, and it's got a big backyard, nice for families. I go, you've used nice 7 times. Okay. Can we pull something out? But the funny thing is, now they're using ChatGPT or Perplexity or something. And now it's like beautiful home in a bucolic location. It's like, they don't know bucolic. What's going on here? But beyond that, I think that more and more it's just becoming a tool that will speed up what we can do and solve for, I don't know what to do. Example, you're going to do a podcast with me today and you haven't done one before. You've done very few. Okay, I'm going to do a podcast with Keith Myers. What should I talk about? What should we focus on? Give me extent in, in-depth answers or questions that I can talk about and fields to cover. It'll come out and you probably go, wow, I like a lot of that. I think where I would like to see, we're swimming in a mountain of data. You have Black Knight. That was a Fidelity product for a while. I think they're spun off. I think they changed their name to ICE, which is probably bad timing because that's probably not a good name for them right now. But this information that title companies amassed and real estate companies and all this stuff out there, I think someday soon we may do a better job of predictive analytics. There's been a lot of models, SmartZip and others, that say we can predict of the hunters fund to 20% to have the 80% chance of selling their home over the next year. It's never worked. Yeah. I'm the testing route. I've tried everything. It's one of the things I'd like to do. But can we now analyze data with all the demographics and geographics and time in the property and all those things and try to make a better decision? And then what we need to solve for is something you mentioned. If you got the best idea, how can you deliver that message in a specific targeted manner that's just for Roger Hance, that it will be sent to you, and it can't be done mail. That's inefficient. I don't have your email or your text or how. We're going to have to solve through some way that I can instantaneously contact you and 7 others have the exact same thing I need for the specific buyer, or those kind of things that maybe will. My mantra: make real estate transactions faster, easier, and less expensive. Right. And I think that we'll see some ways in that. I think that AI won't replace us. I didn't come up with this. We've all heard this. AI won't replace us. An agent using AI that will replace one that's not. Yeah. There's been watershed events in my career and yours too, where I've had the computer. Stuff that's coming on, like fax machine was the greatest invention of all time to me. And you talk to new people, you talk to a 16-year-old, they don't know what that is.
Right.
And then, email, pagers.
ERA literally started because of fax technology. It was electronic, really, and it was all, their value proposition was they could fax properties across the country, this and that. It was interesting. You could build a whole business model around one piece of technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. And then you have someone like Compass who come with their 3-way marketing thing, and they're going to go back to putting things in books in a 14-day office exclusive that you have to come in and look at a book or something.
Yeah. I hope you got time because we're going to talk about that. Yeah. After we get through this AI part here. Yeah. I mean, most people that I know today that are into it, and I track it pretty closely. I'm working with some company now in Utah, your favorite place. With AI stuff. And it really, this is going to have to phase in, like anything else. And so you start talking about what's the things to get us acquainted with AI. And it's really best suited to think of it as your assistant right now. Right. How am I going to use it as my assistant? And all my guys that are into it today are saying, just think of it as your assistant.
Yeah. I like to think, treat it as a human. A guy, actually my coach, and he calls his Carl. It helps her. He's got his name. So, hey, Carl, do that. And, and they remember you. They remember, Keith is an owner of 9 offices in Southern California. What do you need to do? And you're right. So, yeah, I think there's that's going to be, for sure. That'll be that assistant that you had before doing a lot of the things that you need to do. So it'll be faster.
I think we get too far off the basics sometimes, I keep saying, get back to one basic fundamental thing. And I say, my real estate rule number 1, your income's directly proportionate to how many people know you, like you, trust you. It's that simple. As the number grows, so will your income grow. And you could be really bad at a lot of things. Right.
Can you build people that know you, like you, trust you solely by mailing? You just can't. There's just not enough power to do that. You can by knocking doors, but can you cover enough doors to amass the business size that you want? What can you leverage some things, but still have that relationship building?
Right. Well, see, I was farming. If here again, if you think of farming as something where you just go out and you knock on doors and you meet people, but what farming and what we try to encourage in our days was, let them know you. I mean, the essence of you. What are you about? What do you sound like? What do you feel like? That's the way, you grow on me. That's the way, I remember you. It's a lot of work, and it's cheaper than mailing. I mean, when we started, we were in the world where every company on the planet, and it was franchise world in those days. I mean, there were 100 pages of real estate ads in the newspapers. My first thought was, we'll just get our asses kicked doing that. If I run an ad with my budget, it's just going to say, we're a little teeny company, not very significant. But if we could get, Dave Cargos and Stephen Noels and Randy Greens and Roger Hance out knocking on doors, no one could compete with that. Yeah. You just can't compete with when I connect with you. Just can't be beat. So the real fundamental thing is, how do I get more people into that, the chance to understand me better?
Yeah. You've arrived as a farmer too when you get a call. Hey, Keith, it's Joe at 123 Street, and we're ready to sell. So come on over and list our house. Exactly. You could go over and throw up on their table. They're going to list their house. They're going to trust you on price, and you're going to get that listing. Yeah. I highly recommend you do give a presentation so they see your value and you show them what you're going to do. But yeah, it's really true.
I would say, I think I sold 170 houses up on the golf course up there. I competed maybe 30 times, probably lost most of them I competed on. Now I used to say,
but you had the 140 laydowns.
That's right. Exactly. I had, like I said, every time I went to the door, it was the first part of a listing presentation. That was the sense of building. That's true today. And in fact, I'll say it again, even more violently. It's more true today. And it's also true that your competition is going to be similar again. It's not big newspaper ads. It's big data. Yeah. And just like the newspaper ads, the big data is impersonal. Right. Yeah. You're not going to beat me if you're talking to me. Right. If someone's talking to me, you're not going to win that conversation. Maybe you will, and so these guys that are investing all the money today in all these disruptive kinds of things, they're counting on you to not be very personal.
I think there's been ways that people have tried to build the relationships by kind of farming in reverse, by instead of knocking doors, try to do a massive open house where you invite the neighbors in and you offer some item of value, neighborhood comp, some information to get them to come and meet them there. Right. Events where people will do paper shred trucks or ice cream trucks even still, and like the old days and things like that, where you're meeting people and you're seeing them as, as human, not so much just a hard sell. Hey, you want to sell your house? Hey, you give me your box, let's shred them for you. And then naturally things come up, right? If they're interested. But that's true. You're trying to build that relationship so strong that you freeze out all the other people. Hey, I know a guy that I work with, and I'll talk. No, I got someone.
A guy.
Yeah,
I'm a guy. And we ran through an era. We've been through, and it may still in the era where your guy is someone who may have just gotten the real estate license, but who cares? Right. And I think that's the next challenge you got, and that is, you need to care, right? Because it actually does matter, And so that brings me to the next thing I think is worth talking about, and that is that assuming that I get to know people, we still need to have something to say to them, right? And that's sort of how are we defining the value we can have to someone? Everything that's going on right now, including the commissions and all that, in my opinion, are stems from people just not believing you have that much value anymore.
Right. That's true. They look at how much we make on one transaction. I think that's just absurd with prices being what they are. But they don't see all the other things what we do and what has to happen for one to get paid. You're no guarantee.
Right.
Not that they care, but it truly is. And our values are so evolved over the years. When I came in, we were the gatekeepers, right? They couldn't buy a house or find it but for us. So they just needed to choose one of us. And why not, if they want to buy in Northern Granada Hills, well, I had a good shot. I'm going to get them because I had the inventory. I knew the things coming and that sort of thing. Well, now that's changed a little bit. And they have, many times they find out about houses before we do.
Right.
And you're working with a buyer. Hey, I saw this one just came up on any number of portals.
Right.
And so we have to define our value in different ways. And it's interesting, the more litigious and complicated life gets, and the more pages that go onto our form, I think that's one of the things we can do is protect the consumers that we serve, because there's a lot of ways that you could be out there twisting if someone doesn't do the right things to protect you. I like to say, if the seller hires you, what's your job? What's the number one most important thing you do for them? It's not get them the most money. It's get their home sold. And tied for number two is protect them and get them the most money. But if you don't get the home sold, doesn't matter. You're not getting that price. And if you get it sold at a right price, but you didn't disclose, you didn't walk them through the things.
We're both agreeing that if this is going to remain a good profession, I think it will, but a great high-paying profession, you're going to have to, I think, find ways to be more valuable, and then better ways to articulate how you're going to be more valuable.
Correct. And our value is going to change. As it has changed, there's going to be, does AI level the field? I used to always pride myself that I wrote better descriptions than anybody else.
Right.
There was a guy named Bruce Smart, a great guy, coal banker, local guy in Granada Hills. Every house he listed was mint condition, mint this, mint that. I go, dude, you ever list a dog? But anyway, but now the fields, you may not be good with the English language, and you could get a nice description. That's just one little thing, but so and you can't say, well, I'm going to have your home in Zillow. Every home is in Zillow. Right. Every home's everywhere. Right. So what else can you do? What else can you do to expose people that maybe don't even know they're in the market for a house? We'll be everywhere. We'll be ubiquitous where someone's looking for a home to buy. But how can we grab that person who's not looking at Granada Hills, but maybe Chatsworth and West Hills? How can we reach them? How can we get somebody who not even thinking about they want to buy a house? Some of the best, two of the houses I bought in my life, I woke up that morning and I wasn't in the market to buy a house, and I found a house. Of course, we especially back in the day, we used to see a lot of houses. You'd caravan your own listings on Tuesdays, and you go look at broker opens on Friday, because we wanted to see the inventory.
Support your office members.
But if we can do a better job of pushing the best in the features of a property out there and uncover that
I say frequently that, if you take an insurance salesman or a stock salesman or a doctor or a lawyer, any of these things we call legitimate professions, that they spend a lot of time learning their service before they learn how to sell it. And what I've really seen in our business over the last 15, 20 years is we do a pretty decent job at times of teaching people how to sell it. I'm not sure that the industry is doing a good job of coaching people on the service that they're actually providing. There's some truths about pricing.
Yeah.
There's truths about how to handle a home inspection. There's truths about how we do with each other. I don't see much of that training going on, do you?
No, and what you're talking about, spend more time sharpening your axe before cutting, right? And I firmly believe that my listing presentation in 1986 or 87 was better than it is today. I went and saw a guy named Daniel Penley, who I found out later ripped up Jerry Bresser, but you memorized stuff and you did little tie downs and you got logical answers and you moved them down this corridor, overcoming objections, get them to an answer that it's impossible to say no. It's like, have you ever done a timeshare? And it's like hard to say no. These guys are so good. It's like I was just trying to get the free turkey or whatever it was. I just wanted the free couple days in Hawaii, and now I'm buying a timeshare. What am I doing?
Yeah. I bought one. Yeah. Spent $50,000 for a timeshare in Mexico.
Well, you go there a lot, so I hope it's that one.
I go there. I have no choice anymore, you know. But I'll tell you that story off air because it's hysterical. But great salesman.
Yeah.
Great salesman.
Why can't we be the same thing? I mean, really, you need to sell why you're special.
Yeah.
I had a high school sales.
I think it's easier to sell special if you are special. You know, do you spend time learning? Do you actually know more? I mean, you know, I'll tell you, since I've been 100% dedicated to the escrow side of this thing and doing everything from here to, you know, Orange County and every place now, you see a lot of real estate transactions, and honestly, the guys just aren't very good.
Yeah.
And I see guys come along, you know, hate to say it, but, you know, guys have been around for what I remember I used to think this with Dave Cargill all the time. It's like every time he'd bring me an escrow, and there was a person on the other side of it, I'd go, that poor other agent's going to get chewed up. And that poor client that they're representing is going to lose. They're just going to lose. And that's generally true with guys that have been around a long time. If that's true, I think we agree it is, then that clearly establishes that there's some value in how good you are at what you do.
There is some natural talent that people can parlay. You know, Jordan Cohen he's got a knack, you know, he's got a little something extra. But you and I both know many people we've met over the years that they're kind of obtuse, a little kind of crusty, but they work hard and they believe what they say.
Yeah.
You remember Jack LaBosco?
Yeah.
So Jack was around, and he was the first broker for Pinnacle until Jeff got his license. And that guy just every year he killed it. And he was like a gruff, mean guy.
I know.
And
I know.
I didn't get it. I grew to love the guy actually, but man, that was like.
Well, that's why I say when all is said and done, anybody who's watching this and they're looking to get through a couple hours of listening to a couple of guys talk, and they're looking for a nugget, this is it. The nugget is that it just doesn't matter what happens if you just go out and continue to do it and not stop and work your plan and stay consistent with the plan. It's going to work because you can be bad at everything if you can just be good at that.
I like to say sometimes, I've said, hey, if somebody came to you and offered you a starring role in a TV show and you just needed to learn the script solid, to audition for the script, and you have a chance to make $100,000 a month. I mean, those guys make $100,000 a week for the big stars, but pick a number. Would you learn it? Yeah. What would you do? Would you practice it? Would you practice it in cowboy voice? Would you practice it like backwards?
Right.
Would you practice it in front of a mirror? Practice it and next thing you're doing all kind of the linguistic practices because you're going to own it. You're gonna mix in like some
right.
Even though you don't do it, to make it look real, you're so good at it that you just can't be beat.
Right.
Everybody can learn it
In a second.
but they don't. I don't want to be canned. I don't want to. So they go in and they wing it, and sometimes they win, sometimes they don't. And
the thing about canned stuff, because I agree with you 100%, is that it's not so much about being canned, it's about being comfortable with the words just rolling off your lips, to feel comfortable in what you're saying, and by the way, why wouldn't it be canned? Because there's only so many things you can say. Right? So the idea of just get comfortable with the things that you say.
It always funny when someone said, yeah, they insisted on listing it too high, or they wouldn't pay my commission. They would only do it for X percent. And so, I took that one. We're 100,000 overpriced, and my commission is X, which is minus 1% what I usually get. And it's only a 30-day listing, and it's an exclusive agency. It's not even exclusive right to sell. Right. And they don't really need to sell. But I got that listing. I go, oh my God, you just bought a headache.
Yeah, congratulations.
But a lot of that is you can't build motivation to sell, or either they really want to sell or they have to sell or not. But if they have that need and drill into that, why are you selling? What happens if you don't sell? Will you keep it? Will you rent it?
Right. That's
why'd you sell yourself, right?
Just, you don't have to inject yourself too much. Let nature take its course here. If the people are really motivated, the one thing I'm sure you can do is screw it up. Look like it matters more to you than it does to them, and you guarantee you're going to screw it up. So how about everyone's always talked about listing presentations. I've heard stories about Jordan, who would give listing presentations every night to his wife or something like that. Is that true?
Yeah, there's a good story about that, and he wrote a book and he put it in there. So he got into real estate a little bit reluctantly. His parents both got into real estate. Arnie and Harriet did well. He lived in Northridge, no silver spoon in his mouth. His dad used to have a hot dog stand, Danny's Dog, and his mom did nails back before the Asians took it over. Good for them. So I think she got licensed first and started having some success, and he followed. Anyway, he goes like, man, I don't want to do that. He graduated. He'll say, I barely graduated with a C- average from Cal State Northridge. He did those. Remember, you'd write up blurbs, take pictures, and send them to the Daily News or to get the press releases. He did that for a while. Ultimately, he said, "Nah, I'm gonna get into real estate." So they all told him. Todd said, "You need to do a farm." So he picked a farm in Canoga Park, and he's knocking doors. Finally, he gets this listing at a chance, and he goes out and he loses. And he lists with someone else, and he goes out. Man, I'm not going to do that again. He goes out and he taps again. And he goes, you know what? That is never going to happen again. That would have been a $5,000 commission, which would have tripled my net worth.
Right.
So I'm going to learn. So he said, no TV, turn it off, practice. He says 6 months, whatever that period could have been, 6 days or 6 weeks, but significant period of time, practice role play with his wife, got so good that I know what they're going to say because I know what I'm going to say. So if I ask the right question where I know the answer and I build logical conclusion, I will win. And he did.
He did.
Yeah. And it worked. And then when he just chanced thing, when he went out and showed out in Westlake and sold that house, and he thought he got to meet some of the agents out there showing, go, they weren't as impressive as I thought. And he said, honey, let's move out here. I'm going to go after it. And he did. And his success happened quicker than I expected, and did well. But he says, and he will tell you, he goes, hey, I'm not cocky or arrogant. I'm just confident that I know that I can't be beat. And he believes it. He goes, I will win every time I want. If I don't win the listing, it's either
I didn't want it.
And the funny thing is he's doing now, we don't need to go too much in him. He's turning out listings all the time right now because in the older luxury market, at least in his main neck of the woods, there's a lot of product that's not selling. He's got a $15 million house. It's the best thing in Hidden Hills, and an offer or showing in 3 months. And he's used to churning them and getting them done. But
yeah, there's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So now we always put emphasis in listening presentations, but as of January 1st this year, we have a law.
Yeah.
California says that you got to get a seller or buyer to sign now. So are you spending any time on buyer appointments or presentations?
We've got some of our, Patty Petralia, Rachel, a couple of us have been taking the lead on that. I've dunked in a little bit. But yeah, I would treat it the same way. You got to sit down with a buyer who's going to be reluctant to sign an agreement to pay you. Wait a minute, I got to pay it. And you have to describe that and explain and tell us law. And here's why you value, since really you probably need to do this with somebody, here's why you should choose me. And then you need to build that. I'm going to show you, I'm part of a network, so I'm going to be able to, once we determine the areas we want to be, I'm going to call agents, I'm going to send a letter, whatever you're going to do, that's going to be a little bit different.
Right.
And when they're...
Well, I say to people, it is your product. You should be able to define your product if you want me to buy it, So explain your product to me. Pretty logical,
I've wondered about these guys that really rely real heavy on specifically like Zillow leads, where you're paying a big chunk of money just to get leads and no guarantee it's going to win. I thought, oh, that's going to be death. They're going to die.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are doing it. They're still hanging in there, doing well with it, because they had to go back and build their scripting and such that they would get people who've never met them or know them for anything. I would think, I believe, get them in person, do at least that first initial consultation and win them. But I'm hearing a lot of times they're just saying, no, you got to do this way here, sign this and I'll show it to you. And some will, some won't.
Yes. I mean, it's, and if that's the way you want to come off and that's the way you think you can win, good luck with it. But, the Zillow stuff, one of the best guys I've seen is this Bernie Gallerini, which is used to be a RE/MAX guy. And, boy, I went back and visited with them, and it was the best run system I've ever seen. I mean, I just told the guy, because we did a podcast with him a couple weeks ago, it was the best I've ever seen. It is managed exactly the way you should manage a sales organization. And so when he spends $60,000 or $70,000 a month for internet leads, he has a chance to make some money. In fact, he used to spend 20, then he spent 40, now he spends 70. So he isn't increasing because he's losing. And what it's, and then I hear about all the people who say it doesn't work. Well, the truth is that it starts with how I feel about the lead.
Yeah.
Is it they go, if someone doesn't buy now, that's a dead lead to most people. To them, it's the next step to a deal in 4 months from now or 5 months from now. And so they're not losing that stuff that falls down. It's just very, very, really well done. Very impressive real estate organization that he has amongst his group. So, I'm believing that stuff. But a lot of people tell me now they don't even bother with these buyer contracts.
That's I fear that. I fear that we got our people out doing the same thing. Yeah. And
talk to me about, if you got a few more minutes, talk to me about the industry in general, where you see things going. I mean, Rocket just bought Redfin. Yeah. KW has had some kind of engagement with a big data, entity. You see Zillow, is fighting with Compass and Clear Cooperate. I mean, a lot of stuff going on right now.
It really is, yeah. You all got kind of accelerated by the class action lawsuits that changed the way we work. The funny thing about that is, our big fear was going to be some commission compression, and many people predicted that, and we've actually seen seller side commissions go up.
Yeah,
we've seen some higher than before. I think the buyer side can take a little bit of compression, but yeah, it's back to adding value. Is NAR adding value? Are they giving us enough value for what we pay them? I don't know. I'm not a NAR hater, so I'm not an NAR hater, but I've never relied upon them for anything. I mean, they used to be pretty good about lobbying and stuff, but are they moving the needle even on that stuff and getting legislation that we want done? I think CER does a better job in California than they do. But the thing that's going on right now is like Clear Cooperation, and what Compass is doing. My degree's in business and marketing. I'm a big believer that marketing works, and that the best thing we can do for a seller, expose it to a vast number of people. The more people that know about your house, the better chance you have finding that one buyer's willing to pay the price you will accept. But I also, talking out both my side of my mouth, I don't want someone else to tell me how I run my business, as long as it's legal and ethical. And if I have a business model where I want to do like what Compass is doing, and I'm going to hold this first, and I can convince the seller that this is right for them, and do it for 14 days or whatever, and then a coming soon for a period of time, and then go live. I also think that they should be able to do that and let things fall where they may. Will that push some people? I know some Compass agents, one in particular, hates that rule, and it's enough that he loves the company. He said, if it's mandated, I'm not going to stay. And I got other people are saying, oh, wow, we're going to sell in-house stuff, so I'm going to make, as a buyer's agent, it's going to be good for me. Well, I think it's going to be good for the company. I think, you're going to keep some more of that stuff. But is that really the best interest of a client?
There is no human being on the planet that will convince me that that's good for a client. And when I saw Refkin get up and give his speech, which I saw it, I think it was at Inman or something.
Yeah, I think so.
He gave a speech about the story about some client in New York and how they kept it off the market. They only told one agent, and they got an overpriced listing in this lake, and that proves what a great market. I wanted
anecdotal off. Yeah,
I wanted to hit myself in the head and go, it's like, who do you think you're talking to?
Even Ryan Serhant blasted him on that. Yeah.
I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. I mean, you have no clue what would have happened if it hit the market. But I can tell you this, if one guy had a buyer who was willing to pay over, what would another 1,000 have done for you potentially?
That buyer that was willing to pay over will probably pay a little more over.
A little bit more.
If he or she really wanted it, right?
That's right.
Sure, we hope you get it, but
see, to me,
we'll see.
I hate to say it, but it's reached a level of insulting to me personally.
Yeah.
Like that. Don't insult my intelligence. I mean, I've done this for a long time, and I don't think you ever sold a house in your life.
No.
Okay, so to sit back and tell us that this is, but so I'm interested in where this thing drops off because. Like you, I think there's times when it makes sense, and there's clients who really just want that. There's times when, hell, I sell things that I don't care if I got the most, I just want to get rid of it now.
Yeah.
I have those times.
Yeah, not necessarily a house. You got, you get an old
cars,
car.
Whatever. Yeah. Let's get this out of my,
you probably don't do a garage sale, but there's probably some old clothes you want to get rid of.
Exactly. Just get rid of stuff.
Yeah, so and that's why the
but we know it's rare.
Sell my house online, and the open doors. I'm shocked anybody sells their houses that way, but we see it all the time.
Yeah,
when they're taking a 20% haircut.
Yeah,
or more.
All the iBuyer stuff.
That's what I mean. All that stuff. Yeah, like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
An agent in our one of our offices told me just the last week or two that met with somebody, and they're going to go with one of these places, and it's just easier. They've been convinced that other person did the carrot of it's going to be so much easier, and you don't have to show it or clean it up or fix it, or it's just going to be so easy. So they've chosen easy, and there's a market for that. And I think that, I think a great agent has solutions for that. Hey, there's 3 prices we can sell your home.
Well, I think you're right. I think there's a place for it because there's a 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
That you'll overpay for quick. The question is, how much will you overpay? And that's do these sellers really understand exactly how much you're underselling when you do this? I'm not sure that that's legitimate. And if we don't bring that client's interest back into alignment with our own, it's just a bad formula. We're going to get hurt ultimately with this.
It's like I would never buy one of my own listings. I couldn't. That's not totally true. What my best multiple past client, I think I sold 12 homes for her over the years, sold 4. And she had one that she bought for her kids, and they decided they didn't like it. It was a new place in Oxnard, a little gated thing. And she goes, I just don't want it. Just take it from me. And long and short of it, I bought it from her. But there were so many reasons why that made sense for her.
Right.
And anyway, but most part is, but I know there's agents that they've got a guy, and I know this one agent that sells like way too many houses to this one other agent at a different company.
Right.
And I know there's money left on that table, And even if it's like acceptable, I fear that someone's going to wake up in a year and go, you know what? You talked me into doing something because you didn't expose it to the market. So it always comes back to providing value, doing the right thing, but the market works too. Right. So I think that that whole thing.
I've been involved with a bunch of startup stuff, and I've been at all these presentations. Jay Bilson had one not long ago, a couple years ago actually. Like a filter. It's called Proper. It was a deal that they were involved. Pretty interesting, actually. Very intriguing. Pretty good idea, and the way they approach it. But the reason I brought it up is that I've been in a bunch of these kinds of presentations where they have a PowerPoint and they explain to you why this disruptive idea is going to work. And there's never been a presentation, 15, 20 maybe I've been to, where there wasn't a PowerPoint slide or two that said the real estate industry is disorganized, grossly overpaid, and vulnerable. And I think if the real estate industry in general knew that that was the mindset out there with all the guys with the money, and it is happening right now. You see it happening right now. And so there's a defense for it, just like there was with us competing against companies with 100 pages of newspaper ads. Get organized, get smart, find real value, be legitimate in what you're going to do and so forth. And, I see that, but there's something else happening right now that I don't know if you're aware of this. I probably shouldn't use this time to expose it. I'm going to do a podcast, the first time I've ever done one without a guest over this subject. And you're an Inman reader, I think. Okay. Did you see by chance the interview with Art Carter? Okay.
Don't know how I missed it. Yeah.
I'm going to send it to you.
Great.
But I'm going to talk about it. Art Carter, who was the CEO of CRMLS, I'll save some of it for the podcast, but he wrote an op-ed over this. They've decided that they're not going to follow the NAR suggestion for clear cooperation. And I don't understand why, even if you are going to have a multiple listing service and we're going to join and you and I are going to agree to share our information and we'll do it all the time. And that the reason we're doing it is because I have a better chance to serve a client. I have a better chance to make more money if I get to share what you have also. That's all very logical stuff. It's why it's the best tool that's ever worked in marketing real estate. So, so if that's the case, why wouldn't I have an option to say, I don't want to send it to Zillow.
Yeah.
I don't want to send it to the portals. I don't want this house to go to the portals. If you're telling me that there's an agent or a client out there that occasionally doesn't want to put it in multiple, then I got to believe there's a lot who don't want to put it in the portals.
Right.
If this inventory wasn't put in the portals, a third of the listings weren't put in the portals, it would change the whole dynamic of real estate. Totally change it. And you, as a MLS owner, you're the CEO of an organization that we pay for. We're actually part owners of. And he declared that he will not allow delayed marketing, which was the idea of not sending to portals. Ridiculous to me. Just an option. Let me have an option. Where he stepped off the cliff, and he really pissed me off, and I hope it pisses everybody in real estate off because it should. He came out and said something to the effect of he believes that buyers should have access to all the information that we have, even if they don't want to use us. And there's more to it than that. I'll share in that day.
I can't read it.
But this idea that you serve buyers, you don't serve buyers. We serve buyers. You serve us, right?
Your organization.
Exactly. And now you think that you should give away information to a buyer for free when we have to pay for it. We pay to accumulate it. We knock on doors. So we spend time, energy, stress. We spend money to mail. We do all this stuff. We get on the phones. We call people, take rejection, just to get this little piece of information that's very valuable. You say we should give it for free.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Insane.
So this apathy that you talked about earlier, it's true throughout right now, and I think this is maybe a moment in time where everybody needs to not be apathetic, because I think this is one of those. I keep wondering what else is on this guy's mind if he wants to give away our information for free. So
does he ultimately find a way to compete with us? I mean, you never know. What's the angle at?
One of the questions I'm going to ask: do you intend to give for sale by owners free access too?
Yeah.
So the buyers and sellers should have free access. We should pay for it, and it's built for. Like I'll save the rant for that day.
Watch and learn.
Watch then. That's right. All right. Well, listen, my friend, you gave me a lot of time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's good. We should talk more.
Yeah, we should.
But
always great to see you.
The time you spend, it was awesome.
We'll have to play pickleball sometime.
Yeah, come on. Are you playing any?
Not much.
Yeah, I'll have you way. If you'll come, I'll offer you. Yeah. And in the meantime, I appreciate it very much, and best of luck.
Thank you. I'll take it.
You're going to kick ass.
Let's go.
You always do.
Thank you. All right. Great. Thanks, Roger.